Good evening. Welcome to Investigator News, and I'm your host, Ellie Holder. And tonight, world news and today's news. First off, we got to get into China. China, earlier this week, the United States combat ship, the USS Gabrielle Gifford, conducted routine operations in international waters past the second Thomas Shoal. Thomas Shoal is in the South China Sea. Uh, it's within the ninth dash line in the area China claims as its own. Also, coincidentally, an area includes the entire South China Sea. So, of course, this is drew criticism from China, which claimed that the U.S. Navy illegally intruded into its territory. And of course, we didn't. My favorite Chinese run state media, the Global Times, accused the U.S. of creating regional tensions and resentments against China. I guess it's true that what China says. The U.S. is stirring up trouble in the region again, just having ships around Taiwan in international waters. Part of the reason the U.S. performs routine operation in that part of South China Sea is to show solidarity with longtime ally Philippines. You see, China may claim the entire China South Sea belongs to them. Yeah, it belongs to them, don't you know? But the rest of the world has a different view of things. And according to international law, the second Thomas Shoal is well within the boundaries of the Philippines, exclusive economic zone. And of course, that isn't stopping China. It has created militarized bases in that area, building islands like a Fairy Cross reef in 2006, and then again expanded the reef in 2022. China also frequently uses its coastal forces to harass Filipino ships with dangerous maneuvers, such as bumping supply ships, as it did in October, uh, or blocking Philippine Coast Guard ships, as it did in October. And again, um, um, it did it at the end of October and into November. Yes, those are incidents from October, but have continued. Then, of course, there is the Julian Philippe Reef, also known as Wissam Reef, where a swarm of Chinese maritime militia ships is amassing. This is going on since the end of November. The swarm is reportedly up to 135 Chinese vessels now. Not as high as the 200 spotted in the reef in March of 2021, but the day is young, and they didn't bump ships in 2021. They are now. All of this is done to wall off Philippines from the region. The Philippines is not taking this lying down. In response, China's aggression, the Philippines has taken a tougher stance, even going as far as to scrap $5 billion worth of rail projects with China. And this, as soon as they scrapped the rail project, is when the bumping started. It's also been conducting military exercise with regional partners like the US and Japan and South Korea and Britain. And with Japan, this included practice using water cannons and towing. It's not just exercising. The Philippines have conducted joint patrols with the US and Australia as well. It's also talks with other countries, Japan, New Zealand, the UK, Canada, France, to conduct joint patrols. We're not being told this on other media platforms, that these countries are doing patrols. The Philippines has been beefing up its counter against China in other ways as well. One of them is maintaining the Sierra Madre. World War II-era ship deliberately grounded on the second Thomas Shoal to maintain the Filipino presence of the region. Yes, the same second Thomas Shoal that the USS Gabriel Giffords passed near. The China blockades consistently try to keep Philippines from resupplying that island, but the Philippines keep managing to get through. In addition, the Philippines recently announced civilian Christian convoy to visit disputed South China Sea between the 10th and the 12th of this month. Although Philippines has restricted access to the BRP Sierra Madre out of safety concerns, the Christmas convoy will visit other important locations in the South China Sea. One of them is a T2 island in the Spratlys Archipelago. It's a very small 91-acre island around 300 miles from the Philippine island. But it's vital for the Philippines, and it would be a flashpoint of conflict. The T2 Islands is a major point of conflicts between Philippines and China. It consistently faces harassment from Chinese maritime militia vessels. According to the Wall Street Journal, Chinese military boats have in recent years gathered around the T2 in large numbers, 45 lingering for days and weeks at a time, often backed up by Chinese Coast Guard ships. There's a good reason why China is doing this. This island is 14 miles from the Subi Reef, and a place that's brimming with Chinese military infrastructure, so it must protect it. China would very much like to take the T2 and other Filipino islands to exert influence in the Asia Pacific and other wider world in general. The Philippines know that it can't back down, which is why it's using the T2 island to double down on countering China's military buildup. And in this buildup, it's causing increased efforts, increased aggression at China to maybe even start a war. This has vital infrastructure like Wi-Fi, cell phone connections, paved roads, and a wharf, a school, a gymnasium, an evacuation center. On top of that, the Philippines recently inaugurated a new Coast Guard monitoring base there. This has enraged China. The base has added the benefit of having been blessed with holy water. Filipino National Security Advisor Eduardo Ano and other Philippine officials flew to this island to lead an opening ceremony for the center. T2 Islands will equip with radar, satellites, communications, coastal cameras, ship trafficking management, and other systems by early next year. This is a major blow to China, the gray zone, because that was their island. That was their island to put a base there to be able to start blocking not only the U.S. ships, but the Philippine, Taiwan. And they were going to expand its military reach. So China's reaction? Well, Chinese state-run media claimed that the Philippines lacks rationality and balance. The militia amassing near the Witsuf Reef, which is too far from T2 Island, of course. The Asia Times says the recent expansion of the T2 Islands base is putting the Philippines on a collision course with China in the South China Seas. And I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't ignite China's bullying. And maybe it has, because they're bumping ships. Wow. That's now you could see, and Japan's having the same problem with China. They're doing the same thing. They're bumping. They're doing the same thing to the United States ships that try to go through the Taiwan Straits. Now, we've told you that we drew a line in the sand, and now we see China is, they don't care. They really don't care. They're going to continue. Now, one of the big things today is the House votes to kneecap Biden's EV mandate. Biden threatens to veto. And the U.S. House of Representatives voted 221 to 197 Wednesday. You guys are going to love this. Evening to pass a choice in automobiles retail sales, which would strike down the federal regulations that target gas-powered vehicles. So they're not going to mandate we have to get these EV vehicles that are catching on fire, even the bikes. More and more of these cars are catching on fire, as well as the bikes, the motorcycles. 216 and 5 Democrats voted in favor. The measure will next go to the Senate, where it is enjoyed bipartisan support. Biden said this won't make it. It won't cut it. He will veto the bill, and if and when it hits his desk. The Passage of Cars Act is a massive victory for every consumer and the entire American auto industry. Americans should always have the option to buy whatever car suits them best. And the House has taken massive steps towards ensuring that opportunity still exists. We should have the choice whether we want to drive a gas car. What about even that with corn fuel? Any type of fuel, it says. And if we want to have an EV vehicle, yeah, we can make that choice too. And it makes it fair and straight across for all, it says. Dozens of Hamas terrorists this morning surrendered to Israeli soldiers, is what a report is now coming out. Dozens of Hamas terrorists surrendered to Israeli forces Thursday in northern Gaza, where ATF soldiers made militants disrobe their uniforms and stripped them down to their underwear. The group of terrorists arrested and interrogated after they turned themselves in, after being pushed back by advancing Israeli Defense Forces. It is estimated more than 100 Hamas fighters turned themselves in, the largest group to surrender in the IDF since Israel began the incursion into not only Gaza, but into Palestinian. Images of the surrender, dozens of men sitting in rows with their hands over their feet. Many of the men were without their battle fatigues as the ATF's troops lined others up to proceed farther down the road. However, it's reported that the group of men were detained by the IDF would verify whether they were all, in fact, members of Hamas or Palestinian Islamic Jihad or ISIS. So many of these men have turned themselves in, which is great. And hello to Susan. Karen's leaving me, she says. No, she has to go do something. So Susan will take over, or Mary will. I like picking on Susan. So we have dozens of Hamas that now have defected. Now, the other thing is Israel vows to remove Hezbollah from southern Lebanon. A lot said, well, maybe they'll quit after they get Hamas because they flooded them in the tunnels. They have blown up and even captured one of the head Hamas leaders. A lot of Hamas is fleeing into to Hezbollah in Lebanon. And so pop-ups. They say this Hezbollah terror group from not only southern Lebanon has been continuously firing rockets that were sent by Iran or Iran. And not only that, but then Iran sends missiles and rockets to Yemen and Oman to fire into Israel. So this isn't the UN City Council Resolution 1701 stipulates that Hezbollah is not allowed to operate south of the Litani River, which is located 30 kilometers north of Israel Lebanon frontier. Hezbollah has been testing the waters in recent weeks, more than testing the waters, with exchanges, and they're fighting with Hamas, even in the south of Gaza. Some 126,000 residents in community near Gaza and Lebanon borders have been evacuated to central Israel, and are living in guest houses and hotels, or many is with family. Many were evacuated by the state, but others opted to leave on their own. Overall, some 250,000 Israelis have been internally displaced by the war to date. Since the IDF has been attacking a number of areas in Lebanese territory with tank and artillery fire, the IDF spokesman said this. And among the targets hit were Hezbollah operational headquarters and other terrorist infrastructure in Hagari. The strikes came in response to mortar shells fired from Lebanon towards military outposts in the areas of Mount Hermon and Arab al Aram Shi in Western Galilee, according to the ITF. And I tried to find cities that you guys would recognize, like this all Aram Shi, but you would recognize Galilee, not that other city. The IDF attacked terrorist cells in Lebanese territory after a number of additional launches towards Israel were detected. They said they are not, even after the war, and they do eliminate Hamas, they will be going after Hezbollah, which they have to. Hamas has joined up with them. They're firing upon them. And Hamas isn't the only one that's been firing rockets, many of them, into Israel. Hezbollah has been too. So is ISIS, and so has Iranian militia and Iranian terrorist cells. So this isn't going to end just with Hamas, folks. This will continue until Israel feels it is protected. Boy, great news today. All right, so now everybody's been griping. This is one of the big issues with pro Hamas people that are rioting in the United States. Well, Israel War Cabinet had voted to increase fuel and aid to Gaza, as the ITF does back them in a corner, but they have not stopped the fuel or aid and food and clothing, medical supplies. It's Hamas that's been blocking them. And now this war cabinet is going to increase it if they, and with the, this is down along the Egyptian border, folks. And so what they're doing is they're firing upon Hamas in certain areas that would block this aid from getting in. And so with this, they have doubled what they're going to send. And this is on their own. And they, Netanyahu, and I think his name Herzog, the president, has basically said they have removed and evacuated and housed Palestinians that do want to get away from Hamas. and Hezbollah. Um, so we, I'm going to read it here in a little bit, but we decided we're not going to send aid. But you could see Israel is doing it on their own. Now they are asking for help, but they are still able to sustain themselves. They are still able to fight this war. So, um, Israel had heavy restricted flow of fuel over the last 2 months of war with Hamas since October 7th, and a massacre of Palestinians. But the U.S. has been pressuring the country to increase the output. And the report from local media say daily shipments of fuel will gradually rise from the current 60,000 liters to 180 liters in the coming days. The move has come as the IDF pushed Hamas terrorists into their final military stronghold, the second most populous city in Gaza. Um, so now I've heard today already, oh, it's over, the war's over. No, it's like I said, the war isn't over until Hamas and Hezbollah are put in their place and these terrorists are made to surrender. Um, Now, hundreds of North Korean defectors were sent back by China. Um, they were defecting. And their easiest way was not to South Korea, but to um, China. And then when China sent them back, they disappeared. And then they were asked China where these people have went to, and they were expected to face imprisonment, though. And so China says, well, if they were going to be imprisoned, maybe they just didn't want to go back to North Korea and have fled. They North Korea is not claiming any responsibility that they have done anything to um, um, these refugees, and China says we sent them back. So neither country is going to claim responsibility for these uh, North Koreans that have disappeared. Um, and North Korea says they wouldn't be surprised if they found a mass grave or found them dead along a road somewhere. Uh, who would want to defect to China? When I read the article, it was like, why China? Why didn't they just run to South Korea? It would have been much better and would have been accepted more instead of running to China. I didn't know. I don't know. And the article didn't say. But I think that's really weird that this has happened. Okay, um, so the world we live in has gotten just it's just gone to the I don't know, gone to in the toilet. While the mainstream media spins a wild tale about the Palestinians, those Palestinians are brutalizing women. Now, here's the thing: the left wants to make sure that it seems like everyone in Islamic terrorist land is innocent. They're not. Spoiler alert, they're not. They're not. The West is now again faced with the harsh reality the Islamic terrorists are brutal to women. And uh, while they're on their way to a fake pedo Allah paradise, there are people on the American left who will go to great lengths to prop up an anti Israel sentiment. Democrats are fearful people who are fierce about their freedoms. They want everyone to yield to whatever the woke induced violence is visited upon them. The front line of pro Palestinian crowd found in all over the United States and mostly on our colleges. Highly compensated academics are teaching impressionable young children the Islamic terrorists are not the bad guys. And even grade school, down to even kindergarten, is teaching that Jews are monsters. And why would they support something like Hamas? We've heard over the weeks, we've seen over the weeks on the news and the pictures and the videos of how horrendous this has been. But to back them, to back them up, why? Why are leftists okay with rape? It's because it's Islamophobia. If they don't, it's time to sit our kids down and tell them the truth of the matter. It doesn't. It our cultures. We get this. Every country usually has their own people, their own cultures, and we're fine with that. But when they come here, or they want to push their culture on another culture, we step in, and it always seems that Islam and Muslim are always right. And now a lot of us don't read the Quran, but the Quran says if you were not a Muslim, you were to be killed. And see, that's what's going on. Death to Israel, death to America. Are we next? Are we next for this Islamic extremist militia that hates? You remember that house that exploded? On Monday, uh, I, but no, it wasn't Monday. I think it was Tuesday. Well, I mentioned it during William's show about this Burlington Street in Virginia. The police department said they went to a house to serve an arrest warrant when the suspect inside fires flares. You remember that one? A massive explosion was caught on video. I even showed you the video. We're now learning more about the owner of the house, who believes his neighbors, his ex-wife, sister, and the FBI Department of Justice were out to get him. Now, I want to caution you, law enforcement authorities haven't verified this information. And none of this is proof that he committed any crimes or was responsible for the blast that leveled his home. Being a recluse who had aluminum foil covering the windows, has owned the Burling Street home address since '92, and he's behind on his property taxes to the tune of $3,700. Even though it's widely available on the media, you can see the explosion. And you could even find his tax records. The neighbor said the house was once for sale, but he chased would-be buyers off with a knife and sometimes pointed a gun at them. It shows George Mason University graduate anonymously toward the police and several other agencies. He claimed he was the head of the Global Information and Physical Security for CFIUS from 2002 to 2003. It's an interagency committee, United States government, which reviews the national security implications of foreign investment in the U.S. companies or operations. So he was a very disturbed man, and his family members have said so. And when asked about that he died, they said they pray for him, they forgive him, but he would have hurt one of them if this would have went on. So we're learning more about this guy. Mayor Vitaly Klitschko. This is the mayor of Kyiv, and he's stepping forward to give the truth of the matter, he says. The Ukrainian president failed to heed warnings that this armed forces were ill prepared, denied until the end that this would happen. The mayor questioned, was it possible that Russians are able to reach Kyiv so quickly? Although he cautioned Zelensky will pay for his mistakes, he urged Ukrainians that we must support him until the end. The chief correspondent, German newspaper Die Welt, said Ukrainian counteroffense seems to have failed, and that there was a sense in Kyiv already lost the war. Putin has been sending surrender messages or sit down and come to an agreement, in which all have refused. Zelensky definitely refuses this. So, now, has the war ended? We're not going to give him no money. He came over here begging for it. He went to NATO begging for it. He went to a lot of the European nations and begged for money or um, military weapons. And he's not getting them. He's not going to get them. Nobody is going to give him that or money. What was the $72 billion in aid that we gave him? As on it, they put it on the taxpayers' bill, that we are responsible for it, even though they made the decision. It's going to be on us and you to pay for it. That's why our taxes are so high, folks. Now, Taiwan's fixing to have a presidential election, and China's already sent over who they want to win. If this guy don't win, then they're going to start. Well, look how many just crossed. Are we going to do this one by one? We don't know. Ukrainian president failed to heed the warnings to put the armed forces in ill prepared and denied until the end it would happen. The mayor questioned, why is it possible for the Russians that were able to reach Kyiv so quickly? It didn't match reality, was his response. The dispute between the president and top military officers show that United Home Front, the front of Ukraine, is crumbling. And every doubt expressed in Kyiv and about Ukraine's proposed success being reinforced in the condors of European and American government headquarters. But we are pulling out. This is, I think this was yesterday's. The dispute between the president and top military officers shows that the United Front in Ukraine is crumbling, with Linart's and everyone should doubt that Kyiv expressed in Kyiv about Ukraine's prospects of success is being reinforced in the corridors of the European and American governments. Zelensky has went to NATO. They've come to us. They've made the rounds and begged for money pretty much since the war started. We need more. We need more. We need more. And we hear as there are men that are battling for the United States. They're sitting in the hot tub, eating cheese and drinking wine. Wasn't a good shot. It wasn't pretty. Okay, onward. About this election, though, China said if their choice isn't picked, they will go to war. That they're not only messing with Philippines, they're messing with China. China's getting bumped. They said if Taiwan doesn't pick the right person, we're going to go to war. Now, Saudi Arabia and Russia got together and they call on OPEC powers to join oil uh, output deal. The two largest exporters, Saudi Arabia and Russia, Thursday called on OPEC members to come in on an agreement on output cuts. This agreement comes shortly after Russia Putin met with the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman uh, to discuss this agreement. The Organization of the Petroleum Export Countries, Russia and other allies, came to a deal last week about 2.2 million per day. The initiative will be held by Saudi Arabia and Russia, rolling over their voluntary cuts of 1.3 million barrels a day. In the field energy, though, the two sides commended close cooperation between them and successful effort of OPEC. They stressed the importance of continuing this cooperation and the need for all to participate around the world. So this is a combined partnership with Russia and China. And I think that's why they have been meeting so much. They're going to control the oil. They're going to try to control the gas too, and coal plants. But what do we do when China has now built the fourth nuclear reactor for their own country? They were told at two to stop. They built the third, and Jinping said, "Okay, whatever." And they said, "No, don't you do it again." And he built a fourth. So Jinping is no longer listening to our administration or even other foreign leaders, except for they're working in partnership with Saudi. Um, it's more and more we're starting to see that um, China and Russia are rising to be the oil tycoons of the world. And not even the World Economic Forum has said anything. They're just letting them go and letting them do. But then when it comes to Ukraine, then of course there's a problem. So what they're doing with the oil and what they're doing with the nuclear reactors in China, and then of course Ukraine is in the way. So boy, there you have it right there. Soros now. We had a shooter in Texas, I believe. Um, Now, this guy here, he was charged with murder to a string of deadly attacks that killed 6 in Austin near Bexar County. Um, and to secure the release, and he was bonded out on a bail reform bill. And nobody could understand why he who bailed him out. His bail was a very hefty amount. And so Shane James faces capital murder charges for the incident, but also 3 other cases pending. He left prison, and after being bailed out, the Texas Organization Project, which supports reforming the existing bail system, citing the Bexar County bookings record, uh, uh, that basically KSAT and top state-run policy coordinator, they said this wasn't. Let's see. Um, his first bail was $565,000. It was paid. So he. No one knew why he decided to seek politicians or others. We're not sure why this foundation sought him out, except for to let him free to do more harm. and who none other than Soros is the one that bailed him out. And they're starting to think these high serial killers or high like MS-13 or other gangs that's the leaders, he tends to be bailing them out, and that's what they caught him doing. Now, it's not illegal to bail someone out, though. If you so don't get mad because it's not illegal for a foundation or someone to bail you out. It don't matter who it is. It's not illegal. The problem is that Soros has done this over and over and over again across this country, where he's not really bailing out someone that had a frivolous arrest. He's only doing it with these serial killers. I think I watched one today that got hit with $1 million bailout. Is he going to pay for it? Wow. Boy, uh, everything he does, everything Soros does, um, um, really amazes me. He works with the World Economic Forum. He, during World War II, watched as SS Nazis killed the Jews. And now he's all aboard with Christians. And even if you're an American Indian, if they want the land, they want the land. They really do. So his group, Open Society Foundations, give grants to a diverse array of groups, individuals, more than 100 countries who work in different ways. He says, they support national and global levels through advocacy in their own name, as well as through impact investing in legal aid. So he's paying for it. He's paying. Why would you pay for a serial killer to get out, or someone that goes and shoots 10 people at a mall? Why would you? Why would you support someone like that? Unless there's something. I mean, I just say there's something wrong with him. All right. Now, this one here, yeah, they have been fighting for this bill for the border to get passed, and it's just they're clashing all the time. Now, Biden administration closes down Arizona port to deploy agents amid border search, and the CBP has apprehended more than 5.8 million illegal crossers since he took office. The unprecedented flood that has overall the border, patrol agents and screening has caused hardship as far away as New York. Their field operations will temporarily suspend operations in Lukeville, Arizona, in order to redirect personnel to assist at the U.S. border with taking migrants into custody. Both northbound and southbound pedestrians and vehicles at Lukeville Port will be suspended until further notice. The agency acknowledged that the flood of millions of illegal migrants since this administration came in. And, they prey on innocent and vulnerable uh, people around that area. Don't think that these are a lot of these migrants. Everybody, I heard a friend today say, wow, it was like 500 men and young boys, around 20 to 30 years old. I've been saying that. He said they were all lined up at the border. Well, they have been. You could look at the huge crowds that break through the barriers, and you'll look, they throw a few women up front, but then when you start looking at them marching on, it's men, 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 men. There are hundreds of them, and then a woman or two, or a family. Then it's back into it. I watched so many videos of just men, 15 to about 30, just walking through our border. And but they don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. But anyway, so Biden administration is going to close down a port to redeploy agents with his border surge. And it's to ease illegal immigration crisis. Now, I think he's doing this only because he knows they're fixing to stop him with this bill that is sitting on Schumer's desk. And of course, Schumer says there's nothing wrong with it. The border is closed, they say. The border's closed. Is it really? Now, Australia, they have been plagued. They even have a port from China at their northern part, northwestern part of Australia. Now they're starting to push against Chinese influence and the Belt and Road that never delivered. And we have another country that said that. Well, Australia's feeling the same way, but they see what has been done to Papua New Guinea and how China just wants to take over the whole Papua New Guinea, the whole thing. And now Australia is willing to sign a pact with, I think PNG is what it said, Papua New Guinea. This is good. This is good for the people. Now, one of my earlier viewers got a hold of me and asked me for help because China was there. China came in and overrun, and it's supposed to be the Belt and Road, and they started digging for resources. They started cutting down trees and shipping the trees out. They didn't see no railroads, but a man lost his land. And he was able to go back and take a look, see what they did, and they stripped it of all the trees. And he said he looked and he searched all over for days to find something that looked like a rail or some type of transportation that was being put in. Well, all he found was dirt and the start of a port, a military port for China. So it was never about the Belt and Road. And see, I believe that's what they did to Australia. They're doing it all over the world, this Belt and Road. And even parts of Europe, they're saying, no, we don't want no part of this because we're not seeing anything. They come in and it sounds so good, for you could have this, or even doing it in Africa, and where Africa would need this. Africa could need a form of railway system, and they've sold them on it. But when I've checked with my resources there, they said they're not doing anything. It's just a plan. They get money for it, and then they move on. And next thing you know, they're putting in a military port for them to be able to have ships. Boy, me and William could probably go off on that for a while. Um, um, and this next one, boy, folks, this is just so disturbing because I'm from California. Democrat-run San Francisco faces the worst year ever of overdose deaths. They've been finding dead bodies daily from overdoses, sometimes with needles still in their arm. And during the full months from August, all 31 days, San Francisco was hit with overdose death every 9 hours. Now it's even less. This happened when you vote for Democrats and you declare your city a sanctuary city. You refuse to put and convict criminals in jails. This is the other thing was they were stripped of all their stuff, left them with nothing. So others, after they died, swarmed on a poor person that has died of an overdose and took all their stuff. And most of it, they say, according to this article, are migrants. Migrants are hungry. They're looking for money. And sometimes even stealing their drugs to sell. It's terrible. I don't want to see anybody get hurt, and my heart breaks for the people caught in the horrors of addiction. But what the people of San Francisco, they voted for this. Nancy Pelosi pushed it. Even Camilla Harris is part of her district too, while she was out there. And she was even a DA that refused to prosecute. So you got Newsom, you got Nancy Pelosi, you got Camilla Harris that said, hey, let's give everybody needles. That'll get them to quit. No, it blew up. It blew up. Hey, we're a sanctuary city. They were so proud of it. The people of San Francisco hate it. Even the mayor said enough is enough. And to clean it up and to brush everybody off to the side, they found I don't want to say a pile of dead bodies, but the bodies when they swept the streets to clean it up for Jinping, a dozen or more dead people, and some of them been there for weeks. Isn't it time for Newsom to do something about his state? Isn't it time for Nancy Pelosi? She's still there. She's still a politician. Her house is there, but she doesn't live there. She lives in D.C. because she doesn't want to see it. And like I said before, where her one of her buildings are that she does a lot of business at are aligned with drug abusers all the way around and in the alley and in the back of the building. And they've even found dead bodies there. Yeah, enough is enough. Oh boy. All right, I'm going to move on before I just get mad over the whole thing. The Mexican government are twisting facts to downplay cartel violence. See, what it is they've now found out the cartel has explosives. Well, I kind of had a feeling they did. Not only that, but they got military equipment and explosives. They've got, boy, what do you call it? Where's William? The tubes you put on your shoulders and it shoots the missiles out, or the rockets. They got lots of those. And other explosives and grenades. They got vests, they got tanks. They've got military equipment. But Mexico's been saying, oh, no, it's not that bad, not that bad. But then when it was investigated, they found out, yes, they do. And they're trying to create a barrier, according to Mexico. They're trying to put up their own barrier cartel army that stretches all the way across our borders, like wartime. Are they going to attack when we won't let the migrants in? Or are they just going to try to blow up the wall where nobody knows? But the Mexican government is downplaying any of this and said, no, they're just kind of doing human trafficking and stealing and killing those if they get into the wrong cartel groups, militia groups. The GOP is trying to get rid of the FISA courts. The FISA courts is when during the Trump impeachment they went and they were getting where they could listen and get Trump's information. Well, this is when we found out they were starting to listen to regular Americans because it went for non-political people, which would be us. Well, we come to find out they've been spying on the Catholic churches. They've been spying on those parents. And this is why they want to do away with the FISA court and the FISA judges. Well, a big bombshell has been revealed, and it's chilling to know that, yes, they are through electronics spying on everyone. Because they were able to, the stuff with your TV, and you think China's bad. Well, they're doing, the government's doing it too, to where if they suspect you, they could just put total listening surveillance on your house. And they gave, not only is it from the government and the feds, but it's state and local, and then, they're not going to do anything about it. It's just as bad as what was it, 20,000 Chinese came into our country, and they're finding at least half are CCP. And get this, remember the Chinese police stations and police department I told you about? Now, since these Chinese illegals are coming in, these are the illegals. They're not going through the ports like they should be. But they slipped by, they got by our border patrol, and now their police department is bigger. And they're going to start up more of them. They're planning to put in 10 more Chinese police departments across the United States. And that's all because this whole revelation that was found in the FISA courts. And GOP says time to shut them down. Well, I bet if the GOP gets in on the 2024 election, this is probably going to be one of the first things they do. So hundreds of disgruntled Washington Post staffers. Now, my girls were solicited to sign it too, saying they for Israel to do a ceasefire, and the older woman that I talked to, because a lot of her kids work there, me and her chatted back and forth, and she said one of the first things that she asked was, why would you support terrorists that have killed babies? And they said it's not about the babies, but the babies, forget about the babies. We just want them to leave Palestinians alone. She said, no, what about they're raping women? Oh, we're not going to look at that. And she said, okay, what about them raping their own Palestinian women to death? And you know what she did? She spit in her face and walked away. So many in Washington and around this country are throwing a fit about this. Why spit in someone's face over that? Just because they're telling them the truth. I like, what was it? Who was it in that movie? I think Tom Cruise was in it. You can't handle the truth. And that's the problem. That's the problem with these pro-Palestinians. They say they're pro-Palestinians, but they want to protect Hamas. There's a separation here. There's Palestinian people that have been used and abused by Hamas. And they never wanted to save them when Hamas was abusing the Palestinians. They never did anything. No protests, no nothing. No, hey, get them to quit. No. As the Palestinians watched Hamas bring in these trucks with the missile launchers, and they were dragging these trucks, they would jump them to try to get rid of Hamas. But you know what? Like I said, there's a difference between Palestinians and the Hamas. Bridget Gabrielle, I believe that's her name, her family escaped. And she was a Palestinian. This is the best time for them to escape and to start a new life and not be under Hamas control. This false narrative that's being pushed by the colleges and by others around the country in the news, they've got it so wrong. Because if you put any of them over there, they would do the same thing. They'd chop their head off and rape them. That's just what they do. So Jinping meets with top EU officials in Beijing. It's kind of some of its closed door meetings with some of these high ranking uh, uh, officials. What are they doing over there? The EU, really? Hmm. Are they asking for help? Or is this a whole part of um, um, the Belt and Road? Or is it, who knows? Who knows what it is? But then, China started up the world's first fourth generation of nuclear reactors. They're putting up coal plants by the dozens. Their air is so polluted, it's now filtered into India and other places to where it's so full of smog or coal. Because these aren't clean coal plants like we had here. There's a difference. There's coal plants, and then you got your clean coal plants that we were trying to put in here and fix them to where it wasn't causing the pollution. China don't care. China don't care. And now everybody's going nuclear. And that is just as bad as a coal plant or pumping oil. Now, I watched Trump last night, and they said the question was, they're calling you a dictator. And he says, well, I might be for the first day, because the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close the border and I'm going to start pumping. If it's not Trump, now I heard somebody today saying the GOP didn't have a plan. Yes, they do. The GOP has a plan. What they're using is called the Trump plan. Meganomics, isn't that what Bidenomics? When the Biden administration and his aides found out about the GOP having this plan, they're calling Meganomics or Trump plan. All of a sudden, we had Biden come out with his Bidenomics, and he's claiming he turned the country around since 2020. He's made it easier for people to be able to go places and do things. He has made it so everyone could afford things that they didn't during the Trump administration. I don't want to laugh about that, but that's what we're looking at, folks. Yeah, here we go. They don't know. And as Trump has moved to 58% of the vote, to or from, I went and I decided I'm going to go do my calculation, my poll calculation. I haven't done it in a while, folks. Well, Trump's got 61% of the vote in the polls. Where's Biden at? They don't want to tell you this. 29%. And as I think December 11th is the deadline for people to get in to put themselves in as president. Who are we going to get a surprise? Will it be Hillary? Will it be Michelle Obama? Hillary, I'm going to be very angry. Hillary, I'm going to be very angry. One thing the media needs to do is come back to Arkansas. They were chanting, lock her up, lock her up. If they knew what she did in this state, I don't think she'd stand a chance. And Michelle Obama, look what she did to our schools. Look what she did to the school lunches. She cut them. The first year that she changed the food at the schools. The school across the street, I got two of them. I got an elementary, and then I have a high school right across the street from me. And I checked their lunches for Thanksgiving, and they had turkey and a little bit of stuffing and a cup of cranberry sauce, and they had corn and had hot butter rolls and a small little thing of pumpkin pie. Well, the year that Michelle Obama took over, they had chicken. They had tater tots, a fruit cup, and milk. That's what she did. And I talked about this on Monday. The other thing she did across the nation is kids used to be able to go, and if they lost their money, kids, you know how they are, they lose their money. Um, and parents can pay, folks. They could pay for a week or they could pay for a month for, a ticket or whatever. If they lost it or forgot it in class. Um, the the lunch person at the cashier lady would mark their little name down, and then they would get a hold of, send a letter to the parents and say, so and so, little Johnny didn't have money for this week, and they would give him credit and he would eat. Well, that was stopped during Michelle Obama, and her words to the schools were, let them sit there and watch everyone else eat. Screw you, Michelle Obama. All right, that's it for tonight. And I want to thank everyone for watching. Tomorrow night, we'll have news, but we will have trivia. If you like our trivia, come on back and watch. We have a good time. It's a great show. I think I'm the only one that does live trivia, and I love it. I know the people in my chat room love it. They love to come in and compete with one another, and sometimes they even make side bets. And so we'll be here tomorrow with the weather and lifestyle news, followed by the news, followed by trivia. So you guys all have a wonderful Thursday. And as we push closer to war with China over Taiwan, one last thing. It could be because Zelensky needs 18,000 men to fight. Biden is considering sending our own troops over there to fight Russia. Hope not. All right, subscribe, do the thumbs up, get those thumbs out there for me. It helps YouTube give me a little kudos, as I would say. Have a great dinner tonight. Have fun with your family. It's Christmas. And share the memories of Christmas past. Go watch It's a Wonderful Life. Go watch Christmas Carol. Start watching this fun stuff. Bring the spirit and the magic of Christmas into the life of your family during this rough time. And turn off the news. All right, folks. Don't turn me off, though. No. All right. So with that, we will see everyone tomorrow for Friday shows. And I love those Friday shows. So with that, we will see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful Thursday. God bless.